Okay, so tonight we are going to look at how to make peace with your unbearable feelings. And I mean every single one of your unbearable feelings. Yes, it's possible, because I've experienced it. Yeah, so who never has unbearable feelings?
Me.
Oh, okay. Unbearable feelings that could be called the big, painful, overwhelming feelings that we all don't want to feel. They could be very distressing feelings. They could be very intolerable feelings. So what we've done with the most of our lives is we just like to avoid them, sweep them under the carpet, pretend they're not there, and just concentrate on doing something else. But guess what? If we really are honest with ourselves, some of our UBFs are ruining our relationships. They're ruining our mental health, our finances, because a lot of stuff is really just under the surface. So if you ever find yourself, or we all do, find ourselves getting triggered, that's because there were feelings or unbearable feelings underneath. And we could end up being, say, one person, like me in my past. It was a very angry, hateful person in my private life, and in my public life, really an angel, so holy, with a halo above my head, that I made up for myself, obviously. Yeah, and we all know what we normally do with our painful, overwhelming feelings, right? The first thing we do as Christians is we pray. God, take this away from me. It's too painful. I want to run to God. No, this is a sin. I have to repent. Or change the other person, please. So it's okay to run to God, because God is our safe place. He's always been a safe place. But the thing is, let's not forget, God made us with emotions as well. Okay, we are a spirit who has a soul, which includes our emotions, and we have a body. We're a 3-part being. So let's not just live spiritually, let's live holistically. He made us with emotions, and when we became Christians, he didn't tell us, okay, switch off your emotions now and be 100% spiritual. Just pray, just fast, just go to church, just do all the church stuff, and forget about your feelings, because, they're scary and they're sinful. But that's what toxic religion tells us, right? Switch off those feelings. And I think a lot of it is down to nobody really taught us that, hey, it's okay to relate to your emotions, because they are in our soul. They are our soul. We have to learn how to relate to ourselves, just as we relate to God, to other people. Let's not forget me. I need to learn how to relate to me. And part of me is there's a lot of emotions, there's lots of feelings, there's lots of beliefs in there. Otherwise, we're going to just get triggered all over the place, right? So feelings are not sinful. They are a normal part of us. So if we didn't feel anything, we wouldn't be human, would we? We wouldn't be human. We'd just be robotic. So it's not about having feelings or not. It's what do I do with those feelings? That's the important thing. So it's true that God is our refuge and our safe place, but we still need to work through our own triggers and hurts. God's not going to do that for us. Are we delegating to God what he delegated to us? I mean, we can invite him in, we can pray, we can ask for strength, but he's going to say, look, why don't you look at what you're feeling, what you're thinking, and work through it. Look into your past, work through it. You will find healing that way. Renewing our mind, that's what the Bible puts it as. But too many times we just intellectualize it like it's an intellectual exercise, that it's only about the thought. No, it's about our feelings, it's our emotions, our past, our memories, everything that's inside our soul, right? It's not just cognitive or behavioral. It is deeply unconscious beliefs as well, and feelings and all that good stuff. So if you keep delegating to God what he's delegated to you, we will stay walking around in circles, because I'm waiting for God to answer my prayer, but he's not answering prayer. He's not taking away my feelings. And God's saying, why don't you look at your feelings? They're not that scary. I've given you a mind to think through it. I've given you power to help you. The Holy Spirit is our counselor. We have other people to rely on as well. So he can't do the emotional work for us. We are each responsible for how we think, how we feel, how we act. We're responsible for that too. We're in control of that. So ask yourself, am I trying to apply a spiritual solution to an emotional issue? Where have I done that? How often do I do that? And has that worked for me? Maybe ask yourself that. Every time I've gotten emotional, I apply a spiritual solution. How has that worked? Oh, no, my problem's still there. Yes, it is. So now I believe the two biggest reasons why we avoid big, painful, distressing feelings is because, obviously it's because we live in a broken world. That's pretty obvious. And all our relationships are broken, right? You know, who of us were born into perfect homes where our parents were perfectly loving, perfectly nurturing, who never hurt us? No one, none of us. So we will all hurt in some way. And when we are born, God made us with these two really big needs that our parents should have. They should have, but they didn't. And that's okay. It's not their fault that they should have given to us. Number one, we always asked ourselves, am I safe? So safety. And number two, am I loved? So two things we from childhood expect. We're born and we expect our parents to keep us safe and to love us, right? And so, of course, we didn't get either very much of, or we got it all in twisted ways. And then when we reached out for that, we got hurt, right? We got punished, we got injured. And so what do you do as a child when you reach out for that and in return you get the opposite? You get a slap, you get a condemnation, you get criticism, you get pushed away, you get dismissed. You learn to protect yourself, right? The fastest way for a child is like, if I do that again, I won't feel safe. If I do that again, I'm not going to be loved. So guess what? I'm going to keep these feelings to myself. I don't want to show that I'm crying because I might get slapped. I don't want to speak up because I might get told off and screamed at. So guess what? I'm going to be quiet. Okay, so that is what we do. And so down those feelings go. They get pressed down into our subconscious, into our body. And guess what? Our mind and emotions can only take so much till it all explodes. Or it leaks out slowly. But it's got to come out somewhere because our mind and body can only take so much. Right? Yeah. So that's the number one reason why we don't know how to, handle our unbearable feelings. So we press them all down. They went underground. And look, we were supposed to be taught, how do I regulate my feelings? How do I relate healthily to my feelings? Like, know what I'm feeling. What do I do with my feeling? So number one, we didn't know how to regulate feelings. And number two, we don't know how to self-soothe, which means, okay, I really need to calm down here. I really need to relax myself so I'm not spiraling. And then we renew our minds like, hey, actually, I don't need to see it like that. I can change my perspective. Oh yeah, actually, this is the truth. So those three things were never taught to us. Therefore, our feelings always suppressed, compressed, pressed down, pushed down. And whenever you push down feelings, there's a science to it. They just get bigger and bigger and bigger. No, they do not disappear. No, do not go away. You might think they go away, but they come out in really weird and bizarre ways. They can go into addictions. They can go into bizarre and twisted things we do. And we're like, why do I do that? I don't even have control over that. So just remember that. When we ignore big feelings, when we push them down, they only get bigger and they come out somewhere. They need a place to go. All right. And so the deceiving thing is, though, that we can be very calm, right, and composed. And we think, oh, because I'm calm and composed here, I'm okay. But then it comes out over here. And we just like, oops, oh, better just cover that up and stay calm and show this part of myself because that's safe, because here I won't get hurt. So that is a story and narrative we get telling ourselves all from childhood. So that's the first biggest reason why we don't know what to do with our UBS and why they grow so big. And the second reason is because of trauma, childhood trauma. I'm not going to talk much about childhood trauma today. I don't have time, but we cannot pray away trauma. We cannot just pray away trauma. Okay, you have to process it to get healed. A lot of unbearable feelings are related to trauma. Trauma impacts on your mind, your body, your brain. It impacts on how you see yourself, how I relate to myself, how I relate to everyone else. Trauma impacts your entire life, your entire world. And you just can't simply just add a scripture and just pray away trauma. You can't pray away deeply embedded emotional pain. Because you know why? Because spiritual truths and peace only reside in a calm, clear, and a peaceful mind. That's why when you try to put a scripture on top of your pain, it doesn't work. It's just like a Band-Aid. It just slips off. There's just a little Band-Aid on the surface. You have to deal with the pain on the inside. And sometimes that means breaking the silence. With trauma, silence feeds the shame. Shame is like, I have bad feelings about myself. I'm a bad person, so nobody loves me. That's what shame says. So silence feeds the shame. And to break the shame is to break the silence. Did I say what trauma is actually? Yeah, so we tend to think that, trauma is something that happened to me so bad that happened to me in childhood. It's this event, it's that event. My mum did this, my dad did this, and my brother did this, whatever. But it's not the event. So trauma is not the event. Trauma means wound. It means wound. And it's not the event, the thing that happened to you. It's the meaning you attach to what happened to you. It's the meaning that you attach to what happened to you. That's the wound. That's the trauma. And that's why so many of us are going crazy, with our mental health, and we're going crazy in our relationships because we have wounds on the inside of us. We have attached these meanings to what happened to us. Somebody said really hurtful words, and they really said some very harmful things to us. And then we were like, I conclude that I'm nobody. I am unloved because of this, right? So what the meaning that we attach to what happened to us and how we responded, that's a trauma. And that's a good thing, because you know why? We can't fix what happened to us. We can't fix the event. We can't turn the clock back. But we can always change what's inside us. We can always change and heal that wound. We can change the thoughts. We can change our perspectives. We can be healed. That is a good thing. That's the hope. So if we focus on what happened to us, I'll never be able to forget that person. Because if I think that forgiveness depends on them changing and saying sorry, that's never going to happen. I'm going to be a very bitter person. But guess what? That makes me powerless. So what makes me in control is, hey, it's not that person. It's not the event. It's my response to it. It's the meaning I attach to it. Hey, I can change it. Okay, guys, that's the hope. So we're not going to look at trauma today. That's a really big topic. Today I want to look at how we can process those big, painful UBFs, overwhelming feelings that we subconsciously and consciously ignore, right? So there's some things that we like no, I know I am ignoring that. I know I don't want to go anywhere near that. And there's other times that we just don't even know. We are trying to avoid this UBF. We're doing other things that make us feel better. So the thing is, so what we don't want to do what we did at opposite in childhood to protect it and to pretend I'm fine. What we want to do is and push away those big feelings. We want to give those feelings a hug, as I say. We want to embrace our feelings. We want to embrace them. There's an attitude that we take on. We want to embrace them. If we don't, they're going to say, I'm going to take you hostage because I need attention here. They'll sabotage every good thing in our lives. They'll sabotage you and your relationships, how you see yourself, how you see others, your jobs later on, and everything. It really can be a minefield. So for me, I used to get angry a lot. Stan can testify to you of that. Yeah, I was one big angry. In fact, my mum told me in my childhood that I had a really bad temper. And you know what? I used to be proud of it. Because you know what? When I got angry, I felt in control. Okay, that was my thing. That was my go-to fix to feel better. I know it sounds weird, But so you might have this experience. So whenever I would vent my anger and I would feel the other person being scared, like my sisters, or Stan, I don't know if he felt scared, but he certainly,
I didn't feel scared.
Okay. Okay, he did.
Wait.
Okay, he was annoyed. He was annoyed, but it really got him down a lot because he was like, is this woman going to change? Who have I married? Right? So I would fight, I would argue, I would criticize, I would say things that were awful and hurtful, and I would regret it later. I would feel guilty, of course. Guilt is good, okay? If you realize you've done wrong and you want to change, guilt is good. So you know what anger did to me? It gave me a temporary fix. Because you know how it worked? I'd get angry and I'll feel so relieved after getting angry. You know that feeling? Are you guys familiar with that? It gave me a short-term relief. But I didn't know how to calm myself down. I would I don't know how I calm down. And I realized that I never talk about my feelings. In fact, when I think about talking about feelings, no, I don't want to. I want to share a stand. I feel ashamed. I feel it's weakness. It's weakness to talk about my feelings. Back up my anger goes to protect those sensitive feelings underneath. So anger was my protection mechanism. And a lot of things can be our protection mechanism. Do you see that from childhood? I'm going to protect myself. But I wasn't protecting myself. I was being very unsafe to myself. So yeah, thank God. Living Wisdom teaches us about downgrading. So Living Wisdom teaches us, downgrade your unbearable feelings to be a bearable feeling. Or David Riddell says to get used to that unbearable feeling so that you can process it right, so you can get peaceful. Well, I would say let's normalize. Let's befriend our unbearable feelings. I would like to take a relational approach to it. So let's take a relational approach to our own emotional, to our UBFs. So I've got 3 pointers here, and they're very practical. And today we're going to do an exercise where you will outwork this. So it's going to be fun. I believe in exercises because, doing something gets the truth deep down and you knowing that, oh, that's true, that works. So number 1. Now, this is a very crucial thing. We must all develop this if we haven't, because I know we grew up in homes that did the opposite. So number 1, cultivate a more accepting and open attitude. It's really that simple. Towards my own emotions. I see, why do I do that? Because I want to create safety. I'm safe. My mind is safe. It's a safe place. And then when I feel safe, then I can start being vulnerable. You see, why I wasn't vulnerable, why I wasn't being honest with how I felt was I'm feeling very unsafe. But it wasn't Stan making me feel unsafe. It was my own mind making me unsafe. Because my attitude was judgmental. It was harsh towards myself, my feelings, right? So how do you do it? It's very, very simple. So think about it like this. Say if you have a friend and they were crying and they were just I want to share this with you. And what if you're judgmental back? Whoa, why are you feeling that way? You shouldn't feel that way. Stop it. Get over it. Just come on, harden up. How would they feel? They might oh, it's scary. It's unsafe. I'm not talking to you again, right? They'll go back to their shell. Do you do this to yourself? Are you being judgmental to your own feelings, to your own history, to your own thoughts? So if you're being judgmental, dismissive to this friend, they'll never open up to you again. And same as to yourself. So here's the thing to stop being judgmental. Be curious. Be curious. Be like a child. What? I have so much to learn. I have to ask 100 questions. Can I ask you these questions, feelings? Be curious about your own feelings. Oh, what's going on here? Oh, wow, that's really a furious feeling. Oh my gosh, look at my hands are getting sweaty, and look at my heart rate is going up. I'm why? Be curious, right? Just apply this when you're listening to someone else. Be curious. So when you're curious, what do? You ask a lot of questions, right? Because you don't know anything, you want to know everything. That's being curious. So do that. Right? Judging is concluding without the facts, truth, or reality. That's what judgment is, right? You quickly make that's why. Oh, that's why you're crying. Oh, because of that. You see? That's why you're in this predicament now. That's judging, right? Right, so be curious. The second thing, be observant. Have a look at what patterns are, what's been happening here. Why is this happening like this? And it happens at these times, and it happens with these people. I observe there's a pattern going on here. So be observant, right? So that is how you also separate yourself from your feelings. Because if we're like, I am my feelings, I will always feel judged. I will always feel criticized because I am my feelings. No, you are not your feelings. You are a spirit who has feelings. You are a spirit who has a soul who lives in a body. You are in control. You are loved by God. You are separate from your feelings. You have a spirit, you have a soul that has feelings. I am not my feelings. Therefore, I don't need to take it personally if somebody does not listen to me and doesn't understand. God understands me. I will understand myself then. I don't need to depend on other people to do that. Okay, and the third thing is use feeling and emotional language. So often we're taught in childhood and from our culture, we talk about our actions, like you did wrong here and I did wrong here, so I'll do right next time. Is it okay? Are we all good friends now? See how we just talk about actions and behavior? So instead say, hey, can I tell you that I felt really hurt by those words that you said yesterday when I dropped the dishes? Can I tell you I was hurt? I felt hurt. So own your feelings though. Don't say, you made me feel hurt, right? You're like, can I tell you I felt hurt and I cried? And can I tell you how much that meant? So use feeling and emotional language. Okay, so that's number one. Cultivate a more accepting and open attitude towards your emotions. Number two, regulate your feelings. That means relate to your feelings in a healthy way. That means how to calm yourself down. So you kind of ground yourself. So sometimes we experience something very painful, we're triggered and we're like, I've lost myself. I forgot. Where am I? I'm frozen. Or I want to run. I want to hide. Or, I don't know. Where's my head? Where's my body? So ground yourself. So if you are in a very triggering situation, try to pull away from that. So, sorry, I need to go to the bathroom right now. So I need to step out and get some fresh air. So just unplug from that. Because you can't ground yourself if you're constantly being barraged or, being dumped with a whole lot of angry stuff from another person. So you want to get away from that situation, go somewhere private if you can, quickly to a bathroom. So count the objects around you just to get you back into the present, that actually I'm here and I'm in a safe space now. And so splash water on your face, breathe in, breathe out, calm down. That's called grounding yourself, to making sure you're now back in your present. Because sometimes in this very scary situation, you want that your nervous system goes to fight, flight, freeze mode to keep you safe. And then notice. So notice, you pause, like ask myself, what are those feelings that just came out? What are they? And you just name them. Like, what are those feelings coming up right now? What am I feeling? Name that feeling. And then you're just accepting the feeling that's there, right? So this is doing the opposite of in childhood. Instead of like, oh, no, I'm not going to, okay, what am I going to do about this? Instead of that, accept them. Like, okay, I'm feeling like this. I can accept it. It's normalize it. Because what would you do in childhood? You run away from it. You just want to pretend it's not there. So you're normalizing your feelings by accepting them. And you can continue like washing your face and going for a little bit of a walk. And it's not like you literally sit down and go, I'm going to feel everything. I mean, if that helps you, that's cool. That's all right. But it's about accepting and acknowledging those feelings. These are very intentional. This is intentional work that you need to do for yourself. It's very intentional. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of effort. Yeah, don't skip doing these things. Relate to yourself. Okay, and then the last thing is then, and this is what we tend to do as the first thing, but you can't process something logical if you're being emotional. You just can't. So after you regulate your feelings, you calm down, you've accepted them, then you can process them, right? You process things best when you have a calm, clear mind. We never make big decisions when we're in a chaotic situation, right? When we're stressed out, we don't talk to each other when we're stressed out. If I notice there's tension rising, I'm like, okay, let's park this, let's pause, And let's talk about this when we're calmer. So that's the time to process your feelings and to apply truth coaches and to do the journaling process, right? So only after one, you cultivate a more accepting and open attitude towards your emotions. Number 2, regulate your feelings, then process your feelings. So that is a process you can follow. We'll talk about the journaling process another time, but I'll quickly just go through it. So if you're journaling, choose one feeling to deal with. I am feeling what? I am feeling, say, envious. Number 2, when I'm feeling this feeling, what am I thinking to myself? What am I saying to myself? So write that down. Note that. Number 3, and because I'm thinking these and saying these, what is that subconscious belief underneath? That's the hardest thing to get. Like there's something subconscious that keeps telling you, this lie, this misbelief keeps driving that self-talk and driving the feeling, driving the behavior. Okay, and number 4 is, how does God see this actually? How does he see me here regarding this belief? What is the truth here? And number 5, and then how can I apply this perspective? How do I apply it? Do I speak it over myself? Maybe I pray. Maybe I worship God. Maybe I speak these truth coaches to me until it really sinks in. Okay, so that is quite a process. So that's a journaling process. And that is the last process to normalizing an unbearable feeling. So there you have it. You can take an unbearable feeling and make it bearable, and you can make it peaceful. That's the processing part where you receive the truth by identifying the lies, replacing with truth, renewing your mind. And breaking habits, of course. That's another big thing. Breaking old patterns and old habits. Yeah. Before we do this exercise of regulating our feelings, and I'll get you guys in groups to practice curiosity and not judgment. Do we have any questions? All goods? Okay. All right. So, it's here. I'll show you guys what I did first. So what I did was I took all 60 feelings from the Living Wisdom Manual on unbearable feelings. David had 60 feelings, but he had grouped them into groups of 3, but I broke them down to singular feelings. So, they're pretty intense feelings, so if you want to pass one slip each to pick a few feelings to...
I thought we only have 3.
There's 60, but you can pick. And then each...
That's all we have?
No, yeah, we tend to do that in our culture. Okay, so everyone get a slip of paper and pick some very familiar, unbearable feelings that you're wrestling with, or maybe...
Is everyone's different?
Inside out.
Everyone's got the same list, but you can pick whatever feelings, because this sheet is limited. If you can think and write really fast, you might fill the sheet up tonight. So this is a self-awareness exercise. So here, you write the feeling that you're picking, the feeling that you're feeling, or the feeling that you're wrestling with. And then on this column, I'm thinking, what's my self-talk? What do I think to myself when I feel this? Like, I hate myself, I'm so stupid, that kind of thing. And then the third column, it makes me cry, it makes me want to run, it makes me frozen, or it makes me, whatever is your feeling in your body, right? Or in your nervous system. Do you guys get this sheet? So it's a self-awareness exercise, right? So it's just to get you looking at your own feelings, working up the thoughts, and also observing what behaviours you have. So that's the first part. So maybe spend just 10 minutes on that. Oh, here. So everybody take a pen, take a paper, pass it around. And then I want you in your groups to share. So you share one feeling with your group, and the rest of you are going to practice curiosity. Okay, so you're not allowed to make statements, all right, with Kira. So you're going to go, when did... when only ask questions. You're not allowed to say, that's a... Not allowed to say, here's a solution, okay? Not allowed to say, you know...
Here's a Bible verse.
And then make some observations about... And okay, so sorry, it is that deep. No, it's as deep as you want it to be. And then the other thing is the observation, like, oh, I noticed how you know, you're sweating. Or I'm sweating. Oh, I noticed how you kind of flinched when you said that. So try to say it in a very non-judgmental tone, all right? Could you do that for the other person? Okay, you're putting into this teaching as an exercise, right?